Welcome back to Firestorm Games, and you're joining us as we take a look at one of Games Workshop's latest releases for Warhammer 40k, the Death Guard Miasmic Malignifier. As always, we will be building this kit whilst talking about how it fares on the tabletop and how it looks before taking a look at the fully assembled model. So, let's get started. The Miasmic Malignifier, as well as being difficult to say 10 times fast, is the first fortification released for the Death Guard. It consists of two separate miniatures, the main structure being the Malignifier itself, and the second being the smaller satellite model, the Pox Furnace. During deployments, the main stack can be placed anywhere on the battlefield, more than 12 inches away from enemy models and deployment zones. The smaller furnace can then be set up within 6 inches of this, following the same restrictions as before. This forward deployment is where the purpose of this particular fortification comes into play. By having the vast majority of the battlefield to pick from, it can be set up near objectives or other important points of the battlefield, where its special rules can be put to the best use. The first of these rules is Toxic Presence. The Malignifier, like many other Death Guard units, benefits from contagions. The army-wide rule that grants your units an aura of Nurgle goodness, whose range steadily increases as the game progresses. Enemy units caught within this are subject to different rules based on which plague company you are running. These include things like inflicting mortal wounds, increasing AP of incoming weapons, preventing overwatch and slowing movement, as well as reducing toughness. However, the Malignifier, instead of waiting for the range to increase turn by turn, can use Toxic Presence to use their maximum 9-inch range, regardless of the current turn. This means that you can create a large debuff area anywhere that you know your opponent will be wanting to place their units. The added bonus of this rule is that it counts towards the Death Guard specific Despoiled Ground secondary objective, which allows you to score points for any objectives within range of a contagion. But it's not just contagions that this fortification emits. The Putrescent Fog aura grants the benefits of light cover to friendly Death Guard units wholly within 6 inches of the model. Alternatively, reducing incoming attack rolls against the unit by 1, should they already be in cover. Like with Toxic Presence, positioning is key to getting the most out of this rule. You'll want to place this model somewhere that you know your own units will be taking up defensive positions. When combined with the heavy cover of the Pox Furnace's pipe, the Malignifier can afford you already tough units some additional protection in otherwise terrain-sparse areas of the battlefield. However, the Malignifier isn't just a passive fortification. It can also directly deal damage to opponents through the use of its noxious stink. This heavy 2d6, strength 4, AP -1, damage 1 attack may only have a paltry 6-inch range, but it should be able to dish out an average of 6 auto-hitting attacks per turn. This should be able to put a reasonable dent into any enemy units looking to overrun your objectives, or at the very least cause your opponents to spend time attacking it rather than the rest of your army. But even then, the Malignifier can be a tough nut to crack. With 12 wounds, toughness 8, a 3+ save, and the benefits of disgustingly resilient, it can take a decent amount of punishment. But should an enemy unit fight their way through the contagion, pass the noxious stink, and be able to take away that last wound, they still run the risk of being damaged by its putrid explosion, which deals D3 wounds on a 4+ to non-Nurgle units when the model is removed from play. So, now I've covered the rules, what is the miniature itself like? Well, in typical Nurgle theming, it is bulbous and decaying. The main part of the Miasmic Malignifier consists of 3 orbs, arranged in a roughly triangle shape, mimicking the Nurgle symbol of 3 circles. These orbs are linked together with oozing pipes, bloated flesh, and organic capillaries. As such, this fortification looks more grown than built. The surfaces of the structure feature a mottled texture and sport pus-filled buboes, which adds to the whole living structure theming. The orbs are topped with various crooked chimneys, which are no doubt the source of the noxious fumes that this model emits on the battlefield. As such, we are left with something that has this extremely dark and twisted take on something you'd find in a Dr. Seuss book. It's hard to quantify, but it kinda has this whimsical nature. Even with the spikes and oozing sores, it still taps into that benevolent side of Nurgle. Now, the model itself is fairly large, giving you ample room to hide and obscure whole Plague Marine units, Plague Burst crawlers, and even Demon Princes. The Plague Furnace is much smaller, being just a single sphere with a long pipe emanating from its back. However, this should still be plenty big enough to afford one of your units some cover. So with the model and its rules looked at, let's take a look at the assembled miniature. And here we have the finished Miasmic Malignifier. On the tabletop, its role fits the Death God's theme perfectly. Having one of these pop up in a key location can make a big difference to the battle. It can either help to bolster your forces in defensive scenarios, provide support in capturing and holding objectives, or simply being a thorn in your opponent's battle plans. Its offensive capability is pretty small, and it's highly unlikely that it'll take down any key units, but like the Death Guard themselves, their power comes through slow and purposeful attrition. If you're looking to pick this kit up for yourself, you'll be able to save yourself a little money as you'll find this kit with at least 10% off the RRP on the Firestorm Games web store, which you can find a link to in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave your comments and subscribe to be kept up to date with all of our future videos. And so we just say a big thank you for watching this video, and we hope to see you again on Firestorm Games.